So, how did the good old US of a country that once prided itself on making everything, end up consistently buying more than it sells? Well, it wasn't an overnight oopsie. For a good while after World War II, America was the world's factory, selling more than it bought. We had trade surpluses, which is the opposite of a deficit. But then, around the 1970s, things started to shift. The trade deficit began to creep in, like an unwelcome house guest who overstays their welcome and eats all your snacks. It wasn't a sudden crisis, more like a slow burn that gradually became a persistent feature of the American economy. A bit like that one relative everyone has who just always needs to borrow 20 bucks. Several big factors played a role in this transformation, and no, it wasn't one single person or a secret cabal of foreign agents plotting our economic downfall. Globalization was a huge one. Companies realized they could make things cheaper in other countries, especially in Asia, where labor costs were lower. This led to a lot of US manufacturing jobs packing their bags and heading overseas. American consumers, bless their spendthrift hearts, also developed a huge appetite for these imported goods. We love a bargain. Add to that our need for foreign oil and the unique position of the US dollar as the world's main reserve currency, which makes it easier for us to buy things internationally. There were some key moments that really put the trade deficit on steroids. During the 1980s, under President Reagan, policies like deregulation and tax cuts, alongside increased import flows, saw the deficit balloon. Then, in 1994, the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, came along. While it aimed to boost trade all around, it also contributed to the deficit's growth by making it easier to move goods and production between the US, Canada, and Mexico. Another significant milestone was China joining the World Trade Organization in 2001. This opened the floodgates for Chinese goods to enter the US market, and our deficit with China, in particular, shot up dramatically. Keeping track of all this buying and selling is the job of serious government bodies like the US Commerce Department and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. They're the official scorekeepers. But the story they tell isn't simple. It's a complex interplay of US economic policy decisions made over decades, the relentless march of global economic forces, evolving international trade pacts that are usually about as exciting as watching paint dry, and, crucially, the everyday choices we all make as consumers. So, it's less about finding a villain who started the deficit, and more about understanding a long, evolving economic saga. So what actually happens when a country like the US consistently buys more stuff from abroad than it sells?